Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. I have a question for you. Where would you go to find like-minded people that love this topic of life after death? People that get that they're not victims in life, that they're responsible for life, their life, that are inspiring to listen to and fun to play with. Wouldn't that be great if you had a resource to find these people? Well, I've got news for you. I think that I just invented a place. I created a Facebook page for listeners of We Don't Die radio show on Facebook. And I know not everybody has Facebook, but it's the best I can do with the technology we have right now. So if you go to Facebook and you type in We Don't Die Listeners, this is going to become a community where we can all talk and share and be inspired and find out who lives where and maybe even get together for lunch and things like that. We can, share inspiration and things. It'll be a closed community, so it means you have to request to be part of the group. But of course, I'm going to say yes. But you also will be able to put your friends in that want to be in part too. Okay, so just go to Facebook and type in We Don't Die Listeners, and you can find that Facebook group. The other place you can go is live and in person. In September, I will be speaking at the Afterlife Research and Education Institute's annual symposium. It's going to be 27 or so speakers from around the world talking about the cutting edge information about the afterlife, how we can get in touch with our loved ones, and even things to do with our own life and preparing for our own transition. But it will be a very happy, fun, inspirational, great time, and meet some like-minded people and meet me in person, because I really would like to meet you, because I thank you for listening. Now, on to the show. We have my new friend, Laura Schek. Now, Laura is a medium who has trained with some of the best, meaning Tony Stockwell, Mavis Pattillo, Paul Jacob, James Van Prague. And she is a Reiki master. She owns Celestial Touch Reiki and Readings in Pawling, New York. And she works with clients both in person and on the phone. She's a very interesting person, and I was delighted to spend quite a while talking to her on the phone this past week. So she's involved in this wonderful world of the afterlife, and I feel like you need to hear her story. Plus, she's doing something pretty cool with her mediumship right now. Her website is celestialtouchllc.com. So let's find out more, shall we? Laura Schek, welcome to We Don't Die Radio.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, you're welcome. Now, I told you this would be a fun show, so I'm going to deliver, okay? Yes,
okay.
That's for you. That's for you. This is Laura's first interview, and I said, don't worry about it. You're just talking to me, and then other people will eavesdrop after the fact. So I'm going to hold true to that. And Laura, the truth is, we did spend quite a while talking on the phone this week, but I don't really know your beginnings and how did you get into this? Are you somebody who's always had a interest or like a knowing in the afterlife, or did something happen later in the years? Or to tell us a little bit, would you?
Well, yeah, I always had an interest in this, even as a small child. I can remember seeing my first ghost when I was about 5 years old. I was at my grandmother's house, staying in my aunt's room. My parents had gone to my grandparents, for the weekend, and I was in bed, and I heard somebody walk into the room, and I opened my eyes, and I saw this figure walk across the room, turn around, go over to my aunt's dresser, and then walk back out again. And I just knew that that was not a family member of mine. And when I checked with my mother the following morning, she confirmed that nobody had been up there. So it was clearly somebody in spirit form that I was seeing. And it just kind of progressed from there. And then I had a significant family loss, and that's really when everything started to unfold.
When was that? And let me just ask you, when this ghost walked through as a kid, weren't you scared?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I really was, because once I realized it wasn't a family member, that it was, somebody strange, it really frightened me. And, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about this, all this afterlife talk, to actually see somebody sailing through. I don't know, I'd bring it all into a different dimension. Yikes.
Yeah. I've seen spirit since then, but that was really the first very significant sighting of something like that. And as a small child, it was kind of unsettling.
Yeah, I would think so. But growing up, did you have interest in reading about ghosts, or did you just kind of put
Uh,
all that in the back of your mind?
no, absolutely, it was always there. I got my first deck of tarot cards when I was in sixth grade, and I always knew things. I was really great at winning radio contests
Oh, yeah? What do you
later
mean?
on. I would just know the answers to these like really random questions that things that why would I know this? Because either I would know a performer's real name and I didn't even listen to that performer's music, or I would know a location. I would just know these answers, and I would call up and I would win all sorts of really fun things like gift certificates and dinner tickets and just all sorts of really fun things. And I would call my husband up and he would laugh because it just happened so often. He thought it was hysterical.
So somebody was talking to you with those answers.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. So then, now go back to what you were saying. So you had a loss within your own family or in your
Yeah,
life?
yes, I had a significant loss within my own family, and I had actually never been to a medium before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at my hairdresser, and they were talking about this woman who was in a local shop and how good she was. And I thought, gee, I've never been to a medium. Maybe, this person would come through if I went there. And I went there, and he came through. And while I was at the shop, I noticed a pendulum board, and I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. And I purchased it, and I brought it home, and I started working with it. And that's when this person came through for me and started working with me and actually taught me that I'm clairaudient.
You got to back up a little. What is a pendulum board?
A pendulum board is it's almost like a Ouija board, except instead of using the planchette that you put your fingers on and it moves across the board, this was more like a piece of string with a crystal at the end of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it would move around to the different letters on the board.
And you're holding your hand on the string, right? You're holding the string.
Correct. I'm holding my hand on the string, and it's hanging down, and it would just move, and it would point to different letters, and it would spell things out. And then it got to the point where I could hear in my head what was the word that was being spelled out. And the person I was communicating with was teaching me that I didn't need to use the pendulum board. I could actually hear them mediumistically. I could hear this person. So this person was actually training me in a sense.
What did that feel like? Were you kind of blown away that this was happening to you?
I was completely blown away. And then I went back to the medium and I explained to her what was happening. And she looked at me and she said, well, Laura, you're a medium and you need to do this work. And that's when I started taking classes, formal classes, to really develop this. And then I discovered that I'm also clairvoyant. I get pictures where I see things, people, places, things of that nature.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I know my first experience with it all. I was mind blown. It was just like, how can this be possible? And if it is, why is it happening to me? Oh, interesting. So you started then, how did you start training as a medium?
Well, I was kind of guided to the Omega in Rhinebeck, New York.
Mm-hmm. Great place.
And fabulous place. And that's where I took my first class with James Van Praagh and Tony Stockwell.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting how spirit will move you to where you need to be. I was going to pursue a different location, and they really didn't have what I was looking for. And then somebody had mentioned the Omega Institute, and I got on their website and said, "Oh, look at this." And there was a mediumship class being taught, and it was perfect. And that's really when I started formal training.
It's so funny, Laura, that you say that, because even with me, I had gone to Arthur Findlay College a year ago, and they had these little breakout classes you could take, and one was on trance mediumship, and I really wanted to take it, but they said, no, 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 you're in the beginners group, that's advanced, you can't go. And then a friend of mine had told me about Tony Stockwell, and I binged watched all of his everything on YouTube, all the different mediumship readings he did. I'm like, I love this man. And there I was, just thinking, okay, I've got a weekend off in September. This was last year. I thought, oh, you know what? I haven't been to the Omega Institute in a long time. And lo and behold, Tony Stockwell was doing a class on trance mediumship where everybody was welcome. I thought, somebody led me here. Woohoo! Really great.
It is great, and I ended up in a trance medium class myself. That was the first class I ever took.
Wow! Did it freak you out? Oh my!
No, it really didn't. I actually felt like I was where I needed to be, and I finally understood what was happening, and it was just such a freeing experience, if you will, because I just was where I needed to be.
You know what? I'm assuming that our listener right now knows what trance mediumship is versus mental mediumship. Would you mind just taking a second and just explaining what the difference is?
Well, with the trance mediumship, you get into an altered state where you are really deep into, I guess, a trance, if you will, in a certain respect, and you're able to bring forth the message from the communicator more directly, where you almost let them blend with you, and just let the messages come forth. Where when I do a regular reading, I'm hearing them, and then I'm relaying the message to the person in front of me.
Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, trance, you're just quieting your mind, and the words seem to come out of your mouth as if someone else is speaking through your mouth, sort of.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. I kind of step aside and let them really just, say what they need to say.
Gosh.
Instead of my mental mind saying, repeating what I'm hearing.
Right. Thank you for explaining the difference. Okay, so that's your first entrance in. And then what happened? Did you actually practice mediumship at that event?
Yes, there were different exercises that Tony and James had us do, where we would work with another person that was in the class, and they would get us into that deep, relaxed state, and then we would be able to bring forth the messages. So it was really good because you were working with other people at different levels. Where I was a beginner, I was working with somebody who had a little bit more experience or a lot more experience. So it was really nice.
And did you go on to practice with people in your life after that? Did you take another course? How did it unfold?
I took several more courses before I actually started working with people. The medium that I initially went to, I worked with her a little bit and gave her some messages, practiced with her. But I took several more classes before I really started working with the public.
Yeah. Do you remember any moments that somebody came through and the message was just so clear, or an image you've got, or something that you can share with us?
Not actually off the top of my
No,
head.
that's right.
I brought through some very intense messages that were very, very meaningful to the person in front of me. A lot of times, because the messages are coming through me, I don't remember exactly what is being said.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then the messages, are not for me.
Right.
But there have been people in front of me that have received a lot of healing through the messages that have been given. maybe there were some regrets, some things that were said, some things that shouldn't have been said, and they were taken care of with the message that was delivered, and it's been very healing and cathartic for the person.
That perfectly answers my question, by the way. It's just to show that, so many people that come to you, it is the healing that they're looking for. There's unresolved business, or there's just, I want to know, is my dad still out there? Is he okay? And to be able to deliver something that no one else could possibly know is healing, very healing.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. I know that there were some things that I needed to settle with the person that had crossed over in my life, and it was very healing to be able to do that. There were things that were discussed when I was developing that just brought a lot of closure and peace, too, for the both of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know people that say they got into a fight with their mom over something stupid. Well, then mom dies, and they just never have that closure, and to let people know that there can be, that they're very much still alive, and they're listening, and they love you, and they care, and you get to see them again. And I mean, what a gift that is for anybody to bring to another person. Mm-hmm. And share a little bit about Mavis, Pattillo, and Paul Jacob. They're two of the most well-respected mediumship teachers, I think, in the world. And were they together when you studied with them, or separate?
Yeah, the class I took after Trance mediumship was actually an international mediumship week that they were having at the Omega, and it was James von Prague, Mavis Pattillo, and Paul Jacob, the three of them teaching together, and it was just phenomenal. It was just so amazing, and the information that they all gave was just so incredible, and it was just a wonderful experience. And Mavis is an amazing medium and an amazing teacher. The three of them are. Anybody that has the privilege of learning from these people, they're truly, truly lucky.
Yeah, it's nothing like it. And mediumship is a skill. I mean, it's something you learn how to do, and then you practice. And, there's these great tutors that can teach you, I don't want to call them tricks of the trade, but sort of, just different ways that you can blend with spirit world, how to have confidence. And I know with myself, I have not yet ventured out to practice, which I know is essential, but it's definitely something, if someone has a passion to learn how to do this, it's, I encourage you to take a course in mediumship. So then after that, did you work as a medium? Did you have a day job? What did you do? How did you continue on?
I do have a day job, which is completely different than mediumship. It's a totally different world, if you will, and it gets kind of interesting trying to balance the two worlds, because my other career I have to be very grounded, and then I go home and do mediumship. So it's a little strange sometimes.
What's your other business? Can I guess?
I'm actually involved in the high-end custom furniture finishing industry, and I have a company in Long Island City where we finish and refinish custom furniture.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you use your mental faculties a lot. Yeah, I can get it. It's a different world.
Yeah, it's a completely different world, but
But now I want to move on to, you weren't always working in that line of business, right?
The furniture industry? No.
Yes, because didn't you say you spent a good 10 years working? You have to remind me now.
Yes, I worked in my county's district attorney's office. I was a legal secretary for almost 10 years, so I got to work with the police and the attorneys and see the cases that came in, and I learned an awful lot in that job, yes.
Yeah, and I would think when you be in that job that you would hear a lot of terminology that is probably only used in that field, words that, we don't normally use. And, um, you'd hear different things and have different images come to mind and working in the law system. You know what I'm
Hmm.
getting at, don't you, Karen?
Yeah.
Karen. I'm calling you Karen. Laura. I know you're friends with Karen Hollis.
Yes, I am.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. And my work in the district attorney's office has actually benefited what I'm doing now, because I've been given the opportunity to help with forensic type cases, missing persons, and cases of that nature. And because I had the legal background, I was told that Spirit will use my background to be able to assist in these types of cases.
Great. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. And sorry about being all tongue-tied earlier. I know you and I had talked about this on the phone a little bit. How did you get into that, though? I mean, that's a very interesting way to use mediumship. I mean, how did you get into that?
I had an interest in it, and Spirit again guided me to somebody that was already working in that type of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I met her at one of the classes. Actually, it was Karen Hollis,
Mm-hmm.
and she invited me to participate on something that she was working on, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And then I was made aware of a group out in Arizona that works on missing person and cold cases. And I contacted them and have joined the group, and I will get photographs from them and submit the things that I feel and hear and see with regard to that particular case that they've sent to me.
So they send you a case, and I'm sure you have to quiet your mind and have the intent there, and then do just images and thoughts come to you?
Yeah, I'll get pictures of locations. I will hear descriptions of things. I'll see faces of somebody that might possibly be involved in the situation, and then I will write down a description of the person that I'm seeing. I will get information about if there was a blow, say, sustained to the head, or if the person was moved from a location that the situation happened in, and then I'll write all of this down and then submit it. And hopefully it coincides with other information that they are receiving from other people.
I mean, I know you can't give any details, or even if you get any of the details, but have they reported back, made a difference, need some more on this case?
Yeah, sometimes I'll get contacted, and they'll ask me for additional information, maybe a little better description of something that I'm seeing, or if I get a street name, or more of a description of the person that I was seeing. If more information is needed, they will contact me.
And being now that you have worked in the district attorney's office, how do I say this? Is there different terminology and things like that you would use in describing some of these things?
I try to keep it pretty basic.
Okay.
Sometimes the terminology does come in, but I try to, keep it pretty simple and just really describe, what I'm getting.
And I have a sneaky suspicion, because you are so used to working with the law, that you can stay maybe pretty open-minded, that, if you get a picture of a kid that you're just like, I can't handle this, it's a child, you might have a little bit more, like you can remove yourself from the situation. And does that make sense?
Yes, it does, and that is a very good point, because I've been told that a lot of mediums don't want to get involved in this type of situation because it can be very emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, get visions of things that aren't necessarily the most pleasant thing to be seeing.
I see.
Um, if somebody was, injured, you will see the injury. But because of my legal background, it doesn't really affect me the way that it might affect somebody else who hadn't had 10 years of dealing with different situations in that capacity.
Do you see it? Do you know it? Has there ever been a time that you've actually like felt a pain somewhere in your own body? Uh,
Yes.
you have.
Yeah, like with a blow to the head, I'll feel that in my head, or something that happens, say, in the chest. I'll get a sensation in my chest, or if, let's say, somebody had something happen around the throat area, I'll start to feel a little constricted in the throat area.
Nothing that's like harming you or feeling terribly bad at that moment.
Well, if it starts to get too intense, I just, ask that, you know, that they back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the person that this happened to and they're trying to explain to me what happened to them, and if it gets a little too intense, I'll just ask if they could kind of back up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
because the sensation is getting to be a little bit too overwhelming.
And they do?
Yeah, they do.
Gotta love it. Yeah, just another example that we have. This is unseen world that's just happening all around us.
It's pretty incredible. It really is.
Yeah. How long have you been working this way with the cold cases and
Um,
things?
Maybe 2, 3 years now.
Yeah, quite a bit. And missing persons too? Does that fall into this?
Yes, that definitely falls into it. I'll get a picture, and they'll say, we need this information as soon as possible. This person has been missing since, a certain date. And so, they ask that the information be submitted by, let's say, I get it on Monday. They ask if it could be submitted by Friday, if it's something that's an urgent situation.
You know what I like about this, Laura, is that law enforcement is working with mediums. You hear stories that, and I'm sure there are plenty that turn their head at mediums, but there is within the system people that are open to using this invisible resource that we have, and looking that way for answers as opposed to being
It,
closed-minded.
Yeah, it really is wonderful, because if you're dealing with a situation like that, you should really, in my opinion, take advantage of every opportunity that you can to try to get, say, a missing person, case wrapped up as quickly as possible and find that person.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Wow. Um, Anything else you want to tell us about that? I'm not too sure what to ask you before I want to ask you some about your business, but
It's really rewarding for me to
mhm.
be able to help like that. With my background in the district attorney's office, and with the ability to be able to work with these types of cases, it's just really satisfying, and I feel like I'm helping the best way that I can to help people and bring closure if it turns out that the situation, the person is no longer living, just to bring closure to the family, to let them know, what happened.
I can't even imagine how scary that would be for anybody to lose a loved one, missing person, or abducted, or whatever that may be, and not have that closure. I mean, it's I can't imagine, and I know that happens all the time. Um,
Yeah, it's a horrible situation, no matter how you look at it. But at least if the police are able to find the person, and you're able to come to terms with what's happened, it just makes it easier to move forward.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I know I mean, I believe, I don't know exactly what you believe, but I do believe that life is an education for our soul, and that we all are on our own different journeys. But some of those bad folks that do things that harm others and scare others and all that, I don't understand. And yeah, it's hard to get it. Um,
Hmm.
so, I'm not God and I don't have all the answers, but I do love that there are people that are making a difference, and got to trust that those people are responsible for their actions in the big picture of
Hmm.
existence and things like that.
Yeah, perhaps there was a reason for everything that happened, and just because we're on this plane, we don't understand why.
No, no. Mm-mm. And even, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but just got this vision in my mind. A lot. We human beings are all products of our past, and some people grow up in some really horrific families, and those very early formative years of our life are so precious. And if we get messed up early on, it's hard to recognize that, and sometimes people go on to do things that they witnessed or that happened to them, and oh yeah, well, we can pray for them. We can do everything we can ourselves to be good people, and take care of ourselves and our loved ones, and
Hmm.
make a difference when we can. But if we can, let's talk a little bit about, you're also a Reiki master. I don't know too much about Reiki. Maybe you could just describe a little what that is and how you got involved with Reiki.
Reiki works with the energy field in the body. All living things have an energy field,
Hmm.
and what what a Reiki practitioner does is we're able to connect with that energy and remove any blockages, get the energy going in the body. It's very relaxing. It's now being used in hospitals with the chemo and radiation
Wow.
patients because it helps with the after effects of the chemo and the radiation. It's great if you've had surgery. It lets the body heal itself more efficiently because it's so relaxing. It lets the blood flow, and it just gets everything in the body more balanced and moving so that, as I said, the body can heal itself. It's great for stress reduction, anxiety. It's just a really wonderful thing. It really is a wonderful thing.
And it's not
And
hands-on. Your hands are actually above the client, correct?
yes, that is correct. I can work above the body, and if the person gives me permission, I
Hmm.
can gently place my hands upon, like their shoulders, the top of their head, various parts of the body. I can lightly place my hands upon them. The person is fully clothed. It's not like a massage situation.
Hmm.
The person is fully clothed, and it's just a wonderful thing. At least in my opinion, it's just a
Mm.
wonderful thing.
I've only actually had Reiki once, and it was I got a kind of like winning a day at the spa. And so there were different treatments I could choose from. I didn't know what Reiki was, but it filled one of the time slots. I said, "Oh, let's try this." And I remember Laura lying on the massage table, and my eyes were closed, and the person had what I would have imagined because my eyes were closed, but just like something extremely hot over my belly. And
Hmm.
I didn't know what it was, but I actually opened my eyes because I wanted to just say, that's too hot for me. And I opened my eyes, and this woman was just holding her hands about 8 inches from my belly. And I thought in that moment, I didn't know what Reiki was, but there's no question that there was something flowing through to her that caused, intense heat that I could not have even imagined would come from a human being.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so I don't
Yeah, I've
remember.
heard I've heard that. I've heard people tell me that they feel a tingling.
Hmm.
They'll feel a pulsating. They can feel the energy coming through them. It's pretty. It's fun.
Yeah, I would think so, and especially if you're helping people with ailments and
Yeah.
stress and pain relief, and there's all kinds of things. So I think it's really interesting. And you have your own private practice in Pawling, New York.
Yes, I do. I actually came into contact with Reiki the very first time in a cancer unit. The person in my family that had crossed over was suffering from cancer, and we were in the cancer unit, and that's where I saw the first Reiki practitioner, and I had never heard of Reiki before.
Mm-hmm.
And the person gave me a Reiki session, and I was like, because I felt the tingling and I felt the heat, and I saw how the Reiki was affecting the person who was going through the cancer treatment, and that just kind of blew me away. It really blew me away because it relaxed this person so much that they were able to fall asleep without additional dosages of pain medication. And I was really very impressed by that.
Yeah, it's terrific. And anytime you can learn something that can help somebody else, especially when they're in pain, gosh, that's a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Reiki is something that you have to do in person, though, right? That's not something you can do long distance? Or is it? I don't know.
You can do it long distance. There is a long distance healing that is offered, but I personally like to work on the person on a one-to-one basis. I just feel there's a better connection, at least for me. I feel like I have a better connection with the person when the person is right there with me.
Yeah, I can totally get it. But as for mediumship, I'm assuming you do that in person, but do you also, would that be something that you do long distance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can do that at long distance over the phone.
The spirit world can just be with that person and then just pop over and be with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or I can feel that person's energy, that's requesting the reading, and link in that way, and then bring forth the communicator for that person. But with the Reiki, I prefer to have that person, right in front of me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you do, your website is, could you tell us?
Sure. My website is celestialtouchllc.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a Facebook page that's Celestial Touch Reiki and Readings.
It's great because then we get to see who you are, what you're about, and I know as far as mediumship goes, you offer half-hour or hour sessions on the phone, and you're a good person. I'm really thrilled that Karen Hollis had told me about you. She just says you're fantastic, and you got a loving heart, and you want to make a difference with people. So I was thrilled for the introduction, and I'm thrilled for the opportunity to be able to share you with people that are interested in just hearing, a new story.
Well, I thank you for having me. I feel very honored to be on your show here.
Ah, thanks. And we're new friends now because I got your phone number. You never know when you're going to get a text from Sandra. Oh, it's really good. Do you have any words? Let's see, just maybe a word of wisdom if somebody's having a tough day today, or they're thinking of their loved one, or I don't know, just a closing thought for the episode. I know that's putting some pressure on, but
just that they're with you. The experiences that I've personally had have shown me that when we leave the physical body, that's not the end. We go on, and they watch us. They try to help us. They will try to communicate with us in various ways, whether you'll be thinking about them and hear a song on the radio, or find little coins in odd places. A lot of times I'll look at a clock and I'll see like 3:33 or 4:44. They try to get through to us just to let us know that they're fine and they're happy, and they're just, trying to be with us when they can.
yes, it's just something that I started thinking of. I met a man, and he said his father died a few years ago, and he says he's never gotten a sign, and I didn't know what to tell him. Uh, what would you say? You know, I still believe he's around him.
I think you have to really be open to it
Mm-hmm.
and just be mindful. Pay attention, to the little things like maybe you'll be thinking of the person and they had a favorite song and you'll turn on the radio and that song will be on the radio.
Yes.
You just need to expect the unexpected.
I love that. My dad used to say that, so thank you for saying
See, maybe that's a message.
that. Yeah, Dad and I used to always say that. Expect the unexpected. Yeah, and like you said, being open is probably 99% of the game because we live in a very fast-paced world and we have technology up the wazoo of
Hmm.
radio, television, computer, iPhone, text messages, blah, 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 blah. And when our mind is so busy thinking, it's hard to stop and pause and be open and look.
Hmm. Hmm. It really is. You get so wrapped up in everything. Um, you have to learn to see the little things sometimes,
Yeah.
and that's where the message will be.
Hmm. Yeah, and try to trust that they're around. They love you. Love is forever, and they're cheering us on in an invisible world so that we can live the best life possible while we're here.
Hmm.
Well, Laura Schek, thank you for being our guest today.
You're quite welcome.
And I'm sorry I called you Karen earlier.
That's okay.
I get excited and I get tongue-tied, but I do come from a good place. So thank you. And also thank you to our listener for spending this time with us. Just hearing about Laura working at the district attorney's office, you just never know. I mean, when you get involved with something like this, the spirit world will use the knowledge in your head. And it's really interesting for me to see different people and how their mediumship unfolds. And, it goes right along with what you're passionate with. So I encourage you, if this is something that's interesting to you, take a course in mediumship. I can definitely point you in the right direction of different places to go. And even the snui.org, it's always a good place to start for that, I think, $26 a year. There's so much available on that website. So that's a great place. So, also, please come to our new Facebook page, We Don't Die Listeners, and get involved. Say hi, introduce yourself, and you just never know. I'm thinking we're going to make some friends for life, and I sure wish in my living community, in my area, there were people I could get together and play with and talk about this. So I think, if we start with the Facebook group, it's only a matter of time before it expands and we can meet people in our own state, in our own area, wherever that is, and say hello in person. And don't forget, in person, if you can, make it to Scottsdale, Arizona, September 15th through 17th at the Afterlife Symposium. Please go to afterlifestudies.org to register. So in closing, my name is Sandra Champlain, and I've been your host on We Don't Die Radio. And I do believe that life is an education for the soul, and that you, my friend, are important, and your life is important. So I want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.